Let's go back in time. It's Christmas morning 1858, deep in the tobacco fields of North Carolina. A business deal is made. And before the sun even sets again, that very deal is going to end in smoke and flames, igniting a mystery that would smolder for over 150 years.
So, what was the official story? Well, the inquiry just chalked it up to faulty lanterns, a tragic, unfortunate accident. But the people who were there, the ones who lived through it, they whispered a completely different story, a story about a mother's revenge.
At the very heart of this mystery is the huge Hargrove estate. Now, this place wasn't just some farm. It was a tobacco empire, sprawling over nearly 400 acres, and it was run by a man named Edmund Hargrove. And for Hargrove, his entire world revolved around two things: profit and meticulous, cold order.
To really get what happened with the fire, you first have to understand Edmund Hargrove, and we'll call his ledger mentality. For him, it wasn't just about counting barrels of tobacco. It was about counting people. Every single enslaved person on his land was, in his eyes, just an asset, a number, an entry in the cold, hard math of his profit and loss statements.
In that ledger mentality, that way of seeing the world, it's what led directly to the event that lit the fuse. The whole thing starts with the arrival of a slave trader, a man named Josiah Trent, on Christmas morning, 1858.
Just listen to this quote from Trent himself. It really lays bare the horrifying, casual cruelty of the entire system. You see, for him, this wasn't about emotion or morality. It was pure business. He was there to buy human beings the same way another man might buy livestock, and he knew exactly what the market was looking for. $200. That was the price. That was the number agreed upon to cover a debt that Hargrove owed. But the real question is, what, or rather, who, did that number represent? That $200, that was the price for Lily, the one-year-old daughter of an enslaved woman named Ruth. On Christmas morning, just to settle a financial problem, Edmund Hargrove agreed to sell a baby away from her mother. Can you just imagine that moment? As Trent is literally ripping the screaming child from Ruth's arms, Hargrove turns to her and says these words, not words of comfort, but of pure dismissal. You'll get over it. As if losing her child was like misplacing a tool. It was a line, a moment, that she would never, ever forget. But here's the thing. According to the stories passed down through generations, Ruth's anguish didn't just fade away. By that same evening, her tears had stopped. They were replaced by something cold, something hard, something absolutely unbreakable. Her grief had transformed into a plan.
And this wasn't some random act of blind rage, oh no. This was methodical, a calculated, step-by-step act of retribution. It started with a single burning log from the kitchen, a quiet walk to the main house, a very specific first target. And finally, she just stood outside and bore witness as the empire that had imprisoned her turned to nothing but ash. And this is absolutely crucial. Her first act was to set those precious ledgers on fire. She didn't just want to destroy his house. She wanted to burn the very pages that reduced her daughter to a $200 transaction. She was erasing the instruments of her oppression.
Now, for over a century, this story was just that, a story. A whispered tale, a painful family memory. The official record said it was an accident. But then, a series of just incredible discoveries, decades and decades apart, slowly began to piece together the truth that was buried in archives and literally under the North Carolina soil. You know, the truth didn't come out all at once. It was a slow burn, unfolding over more than a century. A letter showed up just a year after the fire. Then, way later, in the 1920s, a veteran found a box of old ledgers. Then, a graduate student in the 60s rediscovered that original letter in a forgotten thesis. And finally, an absolutely stunning archaeological find in 2017 brought it all crashing together. Okay, so let's break down how this puzzle came together. That grad student found a letter from a reverend who quoted Ruth's own words. "He took my child, I took his house. We are even now." This backed up evidence found decades earlier when a farmer dug up Hargrove's surviving ledgers. And those ledgers not only confirmed Lily's sale, but, unbelievably, contained another handwritten version of that exact same quote. And finally, an archaeological dig gave us the physical proof. And this is the most powerful discovery of all. Buried right there with the burned fragments of those ledgers was this: a small wooden rabbit carved for Lily by her father, Samuel. The implication here is just staggering. Ruth must have somehow gotten it back and placed it there, turning an act of pure retribution into a memorial.
A message not just of defiance, but of incredible, heartbreaking love. The fire on Christmas Day, 1858, was put out by dawn, but its legacy, all the questions it raises about justice, resistance, and memory, well, that fire continues to burn even today.
So what happened to them all? Well, the aftermath is just filled with tragedy and so many unanswered questions. Ruth was sold south and just vanished from the historical record. Her husband, Samuel, he lived to see freedom, but spent the rest of his life searching for a daughter he would never find. Hargrove died a broken man, his empire in ruins. And Lily's fate is a complete mystery.
But this story is no longer buried. It's no longer just a whisper. Today, a historical marker stands near where the Hargrove estate once was. And that small wooden rabbit, the one Samuel carved for his little girl, is now carefully preserved in a museum. A tangible, powerful link to this incredible story of loss and resistance.
The story even echoes within the Hargrove family itself. A modern descendant, Patricia Hargrove Chen, has publicly acknowledged what her ancestor did, showing how this history isn't just something stuck in the past. It's a living legacy that families are still grappling with today. And so, that leaves us with the central, difficult question. What do we call what Ruth did? Was it justice in a world where she had no legal path to it? Was it an act of resistance against a system that was completely inhuman? Or was it personal revenge, just compounding one tragedy with another? The answer isn't simple, and maybe it's not supposed to be. It forces us to confront the impossible choices people have to make when their world becomes impossible.